Alex Yu, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So, Alex Yu, after graduating Ohio State, you wrote articles for Global Game League, then Gamer Limit as editor, moved on to the Mammoth Machinima as senior network operations specialist, where you oversaw Machinima's YouTube operations, digital rights, optimizing affiliate content monetization, and distribution for 5 years. You then were asked to lead as senior producer for Machinima's Verizon's Go 90 esports show, where you led a team of writers and hosted daily. After that, you joined as lead CSGO producer for Blitz Esports, arguably the best third-party esports media company in the world. As lead producer, you produce regular in-depth analysis videos, including tactics, breaking down tournament key rounds, godlike, breaking down godlike individual plays, playbook and workshop guides to play like a pro, and explainer to help newcomers into the scene. And somewhere in there, you also worked at Complexity and created Smoke Trick.
Yes. Yeah.
Alex Yu, thanks for making the time.
No problem, man.
So I gave my career breakdown of what you've worked on. Can you tell me your kind of career breakdown, or rather your career highlights of the most fun that you've had in those different positions?
Oh man, most fun in those positions. For writing for Complexity, the most fun I ever had was it was always the LAN events. So like MLG Columbus 2011, 2012, and then in between those, there was a fighting game tournament in Columbus, Seasons Beatings, which is like it leads into EVO. Like you got EVO points to qualify there. So it was actually like a relatively big stop in the fighting games. But yeah, no, those were my favorite just because like I got to, instead of just like creating content, like writing articles or like that kind of stuff, I got to like team manage almost like, picking up the Korean dudes from the airport when they flew in, which was amazing, like getting to hang out with like Killer and Hart, which were two dudes I've been watching in like the GSL for the past 2 years, like staying up till 4 to watch that shit. Like it was awesome. Getting to shoot video at the events, getting to interview these players, just driving them around showing them Columbus, which is kind of lame but also kind of cool because like the way they used to do the MLGs, it was in the convention center. And across the street from the convention center, like back another street, there's this place, I think it's called Fifth Street Market or something. It was like a big open air market where they had all these awesome like food vendors and stuff. So it'd be cool like getting to bring all the players over and be like, oh, hey, check this out. Like, check out all this cool, weird food and stuff. But yeah, those were great. At Machinima, the most fun I had was working on, it wasn't any of the YouTube stuff. That was, it was a good job, right? I don't mean to knock it, but like, it's also a nightmare having to deal with like the YouTube complaints of 13-year-olds that their like Black Ops 2 video didn't do anything. It's like, well, shit, kid, nobody cares. Like, there's a million like top tomahawk throw, like 360 no scopes off, like, it was all just montage bullshit. But no, the best part I did was, the most fun I had was, there was a period in time where they're like trying to live stream stuff for Respawn to reboot the Machinima Respawn channel, which was like their first person shooters. It was all the Call of Duty montages where I was on Respawn. But they wanted to change into like a competitive thing where it was like in-office games. So like we'd play Mario Kart on, I think it was the Wii version or something. We were playing Mario Kart or something. And then wherever you placed in the race, we had like tortilla chips that were like had like hot sauce on it, but it wasn't like whoever got the hot sauce fucked up, and instead of getting hot sauce, they got industrial like cinnamon flavoring. So like it was like the shit you put in like atomic fireballs and stuff to make it spicy. So like, and I suck at Mario Kart. Like I don't play Mario Kart unless we're playing Beerio Kart at Pete Sabatini's house in Columbus, Ohio, right? And then we're playing on Nintendo 64. So we're playing Wii, and I get like 8th place, and like you eat one of them, and all of a sudden like it's like a brick drops in your stomach, and you can't feel, like I couldn't feel my hands, and I was just shaking all over, and I had to eat 8 of them. Like it was awful. I think thankfully they asked me to do the next one. I bailed out on it. The next one was they were playing Battle Block Theater, which is like some Steam game, like a platformer. But you had a dog shot collar on. It was the dumbest shit ever. Like, I don't understand. I don't even think the videos live anywhere. Cause like, how would you get past the liability of having a dog shot collar on a guy in your office while you're playing shit? Like, my God, that was so dumb. But it was fun. Like, it sucked while you're doing it, but it's a fun story, and like looking back on it, like I got to hang out with my friends and like dick around and like, you know, have horrible stomach pain for a day. But yeah, let me think. What were the other gigs I did? For Inside Esports, working on that show, I think the most fun I had was, this is like, it was the Call of Duty World Championship Finals. They held it at the Forum in Inglewood. So we had to go there and we had to cover it. And it was the dumbest idea for a production, where they set up a live desk outside, and like we were supposed to be reporting match results, and like almost like if you watch like Sunday Football, right? Before it, like they have that block before the game start where it's like an hour and a half, where it's just the 4 guys sitting around a desk talking like, you know, oh, I think this guy's going to win because of X, Y, Z, you know, that kind of shit, right? So they had us doing that. But I don't know shit about COD, so my job was just to go around and do all the fun side activities they had there and make like a package where it's like, all right, so I zip lined across this thing, I got to play paintball, I got in one of those stupid sumo suits and like, you know, you fight the dudes in like a cage. They had like a zombies like arcade thing, so you go into like this arcade and you get like it's like laser tag kind of stuff. So you put on like laser tag gear, and then all of a sudden there's zombies running around. You have to shoot them in like this arcade. Yeah, man, that was fun as hell. I'm still bummed out though that I skipped Sunday because they didn't need me after I shot all the packages. Because on Sunday that's when they had the concert and Snoop Dogg was there. So I missed Snoop, but I got to like zip line, which it sucked, but because like I'm terrified of heights, and essentially it's this rickety like scaffolding that goes up, and you can see the roof of the Forum. Like that's how high up it was. Like you're several stories up, and then as you're walking up, they like have to latch you onto the thing so you don't fall off the scaffolding. So you're walking up this zigzag like scaffolding. You get up to the top, they unhook you for a second, hook you on, and then like, you know, your harness is like this and then up, and then you basically step onto a ladder. And then the guy's like, all right, let go, and then take a step back, and then you just like slide back, and you're going like super fast, and it's like terrifying because I hate heights. What was great was the news desk was right underneath it. So like as I was going, like they saw me go across, and I yelled Harambe for like the memes because it was like the Harambe season that year. The worst part was it like immediately stops you. There's like very little like deceleration time, right? So like I hit this thing, and like I think you're supposed to be going backwards like when you hit it, so you like swing back like that, but I was going forward, so I went through and it just like ripped my junk. Like there is audio of me going fuck my balls like somewhere in Machinima. Like, but that was fun. Like besides that, that was a lot of fun. And then what else? At Blitz, I mean, just every day was fun because I mean it was just hanging out with my friends in an office. Yeah, that was great. Like just putting on video essays and just sitting and like just everybody taking turns throwing stuff up on the TV in the back office, or like, I mean, it was fun when we went to E-League, minus the horrible like the stress of no, you're not gonna get any more interviews. Oh wait, Kerrigan's ready for an interview. It's like shit, we gotta set up in like 2 seconds, just setting everything up. But I mean, at Blitz, I got to talk to like all my favorite players, got to be like see history, like being at the finals where Cloud9 won the major. Like that was, I never thought America would ever win a major, much less being there for it was amazing, and the fashion they did it in overtime. My God, that was awesome. But yeah, so I guess those are like the highlights of my career.
In researching you a lot of the stuff that you've done is not searchable. Yeah. All of Machinima is just gone. Yep. And so basically, it's so interesting of like the library of stuff that you have produced is just not there.
That's the story of my life, man. Like, let's look at my Counter-Strike results. Oh wait, they don't exist because fucking Cal's gone. Like there's even websites that are supposed to be like your proof searching, where you can throw in like a Steam ID and search and find all this stuff, but it only has Steam IDs. I was playing before Steam was out. Like the stuff I won was before Steam, so like you can't look it up. Like you can't be like, oh, this kid was Cal P in this season because it was all on one ID servers because one was handling the servers, not Steam. Like,
So speaking of your early career, you got into CS because your brother went to college and you wanted to have an excuse to play with him. So from that moment, what has your trajectory been as, I guess, with your life with CS since then?
so I mean, my brother went to Hamilton College in New York. I was in Cleveland, so like I never saw the guy. But the only like we always played games together growing up. So he was like, I think I introduced Counter-Strike to him. I think what it was is because there's a period in time where if you didn't have money, but you had Half-Life, you had all the games you ever wanted, because Half-Life modding was the sickest like thing ever. Like there was Action Half-Life, Pirates, Vikings, Knights, Science and Industry, Team Fortress, and then Counter-Strike, right? And Counter-Strike being the best of them, right? So like I remember like finding all these mods and like we subscribed to PC Gamer because they would send you the demo, like on the demo disc in the magazine, there would be Half-Life mods on there. And because we were like on, I think it was, we were on, what was it? We were on dial-up at the time because my dad worked for Case, but we had a 56K connection, I think.
Not 28.8?
Not 28. We had a 56K connection, but it was still
solid.
It was enough to play Team Fortress Classic and get 170 ping on the East Coast. But it wasn't enough to like download stuff. So I distinctly remember having to go to high school, going to the CAD lab, because that was a class we had, computer aided design, CAD. And the guy who ran that had no idea about like internet security or anything. So like we could just get into shit. And like I was just downloading all kinds of mods and shit, throwing them onto like a zip disk because there weren't CD burners, there weren't flash drives. So like 2 zip disks of like the Counter-Strike installer split, bringing that home, installing it, and then playing around with that, not knowing like servers to play on or anything. But like I had the game. Then my brother started playing in college, and he was like, "Yo, you should check out Counter-Strike." Well, I'm like, "Yo, I got it installed. Let's just send me server IPs and let's go." Right. So he started playing on. It was a New York server. It was Creator something. I remember that, and like that was such a good time in gaming because like servers had communities, right? Like you would play on the same like 2 or 3 servers. And you'd know everybody who came in. It was like being a regular at a bar, right? Like you go and you know everybody. It was great. Tons of fun. I still have a bunch of friends from that. And then, so yeah, I started playing with my brother. From there, started playing on a bunch of Ohio servers. There's this guy, DM Ohio, shout out to Ron Mercer. He was this guy outside of Cleveland who he was super into Quake. And he built his own, it was like Quake didn't have like a built-in server searching function. So he built an external program that would compile all the servers, double click on that, it launches Quake and throws you into that, right? So it was like super cool. But he started running a bunch of servers for Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, all this great stuff. Started playing at LANs at his place. He used to do LANs at his house, so we started playing there. I'm trying to think, how did that... From there, I think I got turned on to IRC, which is where all of Counter-Strike took place. IRC was Internet Relay Chat. It was basically, I mean, it still exists, but nobody uses it that I know of. But essentially, it's like a chat program where there's a bunch of chat room. You connect to a server, so it'd be us.gamesurge.net. You join there, and then once you're on the server, you can join chat rooms by doing pound, and then whatever it is. So like pound find scrim was all Counter-Strike scrims. Pound find ringer, if you needed a 5th to play, you found a guy there. Pound COL was complexity, so from there I started hanging out in IRC and finding all these different communities, one of which was TSN, which was at the time the Tribe Sportscast Network, and this is the birth of shoutcasting. Everybody will say whatever, but TSN was the start of shoutcasting. That's where DJ Wheat got his start. That's where like everybody like came from. So essentially, TSN was doing like preliminary esports by broadcasting Tribes matches. Like Tribes is some garbage ass game. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for that, but it's essentially
Hi-Res, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Before that, like this is way before Hi-Res. Hi-Res bought the IP and turned it into an even shittier game. But But no. Tribes was like Team Fortress with jetpacks and like big open fields and vehicles. It was like Battlefield, where you picked different classes. You had like a jetpack, you had vehicles, you got money, you bought shit. It was a really weird game. But then from there, since they started building out this this team of like shoutcasting using Winamp, you would use Winamp to connect to their thing, and you'd hear the live broadcast. They started getting into other games. Then like that's where you would start seeing StarCraft, you start seeing Counter-Strike, you start seeing Team Fortress matches. Shout out to Van Silly. I remembered Van Silly's still part of that, and he's still casting Counter-Strike. Way to go, man. I think I played on a team with him back in like an early Cal Open season. But yeah, so from there, it was a big community of all these esports dudes that were like, this is the wave of the future. And this is like 2001, 2002. Like people are like, this is the wave of the future. It's going to be the next big thing. So I'm like, all right, fuck school. I'm just playing Counter-Strike. This is the shit. It's going to be my time. And just got super hardcore into Counter-Strike. Just been playing since 99. Well, my brother went to college in 2000. So I had the game in 99, started really playing it seriously in 2000. But started out playing in like just community servers, got that community, jumped from one community to another, eventually started finding out about Cal, which was the Cyber Athletes League or something like that. It's Cyber Athlete Amateur League, whatever. It was fucking esports. Like, just call it esports. But it was before esports was a thing. So they called it Cyber Athletics. So dumb. But that was like the basis of the first like online leagues. So started playing in the Cal leagues, played for a bunch of different teams, played for Offspring, which was like, there was like a 3-tier of like Jason Bass, Jason Lake teams. So Complexity, right? There was Complexity, then there was DDY, which was like a farm team to Complexity. It was like all Texas guys that like played together. And then there was Offspring, which was like the kind of like fun team that Jason Bass Anomaly started running in addition to DDY, right? So I started playing for Offspring, graduated to DDY, and then like just kind of played there in the Cal leagues. We won our first open season, which was pretty nice. Got into Maine, played around in Maine for a while. I forget if I don't think I hit Cal P with them yet, because I don't think Cal P was a thing. Then, trying to think. I was P either in Source or 1.6. I forget which one. It might have been with Game Bangers and Source. That was like a bunch of guys from Massachusetts that I ended up playing with. Funny enough, one of them, James, I just got to hang out with him at Oakland, like after like years, just be like, oh shit, dude, like I am Oakland, let's go. So like we went up there and I got to like hang out with the boys again. It was nice. But yeah, no, it's funny. Game Bangers had some really rough luck. That's one of my teammates, Andres. He died while playing Counter-Strike. I wasn't in the game. This was my freshman year of college. Like I had just gotten to college in Chicago at Loyola. I remember being on IRC and getting pinged by Jimmy, being like, "Yo, dude, Andres just died last night or something." Like he was playing at scrims with my other buddy Mikey, who I think you heard about this recently. Within the last like 2 years, I hadn't talked to this guy in forever. He shows up and he starts playing games again because he was working like landscaping, and he got his leg run over by a lawnmower and is now missing his leg. But got a big settlement, so all he does now is play games and is like living it up. But he's like a really like upbeat guy or happy dude. So he's like, yeah, dude, whatever, I can play games. It's fucking rad. But yeah, those are the two tragic stories of Game Bangers. Is Andres died, which is a bummer, and Mike lost his leg. But yeah, no, this is like all over the place. I'm trying to think of like trying to put it all together. During all this time, I was playing at a bunch of LANs in Ohio. There's like a local scene, like that DM Ohio guy would run things. There was LAN centers in Strongsville, which was like a town away from me, a couple towns away. It was where my grandparents lived. But you'd go there and just wreck kids. And just playing money matches. There would be the occasional tournament off, like oh, hey, there's a tournament outside Cleveland, or there's Columbus Frag Fest. Like, let's go down and check that out. There's a crew of guys I played with in Cleveland, Team 216. What's up? But yeah, no, like we won a couple lands, but I mean, again, this is like 2003, 2004. Like, nobody was playing Counter-Strike seriously, like, or like not nearly at the level that it is today, right? Like, this is like still garbage kids playing, and if you can aim, you can win, right? But yeah, no, I mean, that's from there, college, keep following the pro scene, right? Like, I stopped playing because I'm going to college, right? Originally for computer science, realized, fuck that. That's math. I'm not doing that shit. Funny enough, I meet an English professor in college, Kyle Beachy. Shout out to him. Still friends with him on Twitter. Dude's the shit. He's super cool because he was this English teacher who like skateboarded a bunch, and like I was skating at the time, so like I ran into him at like this skate park in Chicago, and he's like, yo dude, so like we kind of became friends. He turned me on to a bunch of sick rappers. Shout out to Serengeti. Serengeti's the best. So go to Loyola for a year, bail out because the school is great, but the problem was everybody who went there went to like one of 3 private Catholic schools from the Chicago area, so they all knew each other. Like I was one of like 10 people from out of state to go to the school, or like whatever, who didn't know each other. It like sucked meeting people. Bail on that, come back to Columbus to go to Ohio State and finish out my degree in English. Start living with my friends and have a great time. Watched Counter-Strike when I could. Saw the disaster that CGS was by like pirating that shit, because fuck paying for DirecTV. Yeah, CGS was garbage. And that like really kind of bummed me out on Counter-Strike for a while. So then StarCraft 2 comes out, and I get super hardcore into StarCraft, start writing for Complexity, start playing, having a bunch of fun. And like around the time that CSGO comes out, that was like what, 2011, 2012?
2012 was CSGO.
Yeah. So around when CSGO comes out, I'm like, oh shit, CS is back. Let's get back into this. Get into it. It's still kind of shitty because like then it was like designed for consoles or whatever. But eventually Valve gets their shit together with the arms, the weapons. Was it? I forget what the one that introduced skins, whatever that update was. I forget if it was called like the arms dealer or something like that. But yeah, when that comes around, Counter-Strike it suddenly becomes Counter-Strike again, and it's like, oh, they fixed the game. It's not garbage. So yeah, just started following CS again from there, keeping up with the storylines, playing a bunch. It's funny, I was late to this because I was gonna play another game. Like, I got hit up by my buddy Tyler, and he was like, "Yo, dude, let's play a game of CS." I'm like, do I have time? I think I have this interview thing at 6. Let me check that email and make sure. Oh shit, it's at 5. I should have left 15 minutes ago. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so just following CS. Keep following, keep playing. Still, eventually, when I graduate from college, start working for Machinima remotely. They had me working from Columbus, which was a sick gig because it was West Coast time. So I'd get up at like 10 and like start working, and like what they had me doing was so easy that I was done by like 4. Like it was a super short day. Got to hang out, work from home, so I got super deep into cooking, which was rad. Then yeah, eventually in 2013, Machinima moved me out from Columbus to LA. Was there until beginning of 2016, I think, was when Inside Esports started. And I was like, yo, I have all this background in Counter-Strike, and I like know what's going on. Like, are you guys even going to talk about Counter-Strike? And they're like, that's brilliant. Get on the show. So like I jump over to that show, start working on that, become lead producer by just doing all the jobs that nobody wanted to do. Like being the guy that's like, hey, everybody have their assets loaded in the graphics machine. All right, everybody have their script in. All right, I'm gonna throw it into the teleprompter. Cameras are all set. What the fuck are you guys doing? Get out there. Like, let's get this going. Doing that kind of shit. Become lead producer. After a while, They canceled the show because it's on fucking Go 90, which is the dumbest thing ever. Like that, the amount of hours I put into that show and thinking things up for it to just not be seen is like maddening. But whatever. We basically got paid for a year to play around and learn to be producers, so it was great. After that, after that was Blitz, right? Yeah. There was a period in time where I did NBC between that because of some bullshit, but whatever. I end up at Blitz doing Counter-Strike stuff. It's great. It was the place where I actually got to do what I wanted, and like I was given the freedom to be like, you gave us the freedom where it was like, hey, you know what's going on, like what do you want to make that you think would resonate with the community? I'm like, well, there's a bunch of people who do montage shit already. But nobody really looks at the game and kind of breaks down pro stuff and makes it digestible to new people. So that's what I found is like my calling or whatever. Like that's just what I think is good content. That's what I think I'm good at. And that's what I wanted to make. So I made a bunch of that at Blitz and it was awesome. Got to go to fly around, do interviews. Yeah, no, it was rad. I think, yeah, that just kind of brings me up to now where Blitz is sold and I'm looking for a job.
Yeah, just props to Rick Ling and Jonathan for letting us essentially go do work.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, it was so hands-off in which that they just pretty much, Rick definitely had an idea of what worked and what didn't work, and especially with the analysis, kind of in-depth views or videos. But yeah, it was definitely a moment in time in which that I think we were all very aware of how lucky we were to be able to do exactly what we love to do with Blitz. So. Yeah.
Shout out to Rick and John.
So that's the breakdown of your career and your kind of perspective of Counter-Strike, which is really interesting because I kind of see your storyline as almost like going through the minor leagues or like not quite the majors, but kind of like like minor league baseball.
100%.
So it's really interesting to hear that career path. In regards to competitive CS, what milestones do you see as clear markers telling the story of the scene?
I mean, you have to go back to from the past, we're talking things like the big CPLs. So I think it was like CPL winner 2006 when Complexity beat 3D. That was a big deal. I think it was called Complexity Redemption. There's like a frag movie that is like this sickest thing ever because it's like half behind the scenes documentary, half frag movie following Complexity through their run at the CPL. The CPL, so there was the Cal, which was like the online leagues, and then every summer and winter there was a CPL in Texas, and it was like the World Series for Counter-Strike or whatever you want to call it, the Super Bowl. Like it was the sickest event ever. And for the longest time in America, Team 3D was king shit, right? And then here comes Jason Lake with a bunch of money and says, all right, I'm going to buy up some dope players and we're going to fucking take this from 3D. So he gets like Fraud, Warden, Sunman. Who else was on that lineup? I forget if Volcano. No, I think Volcano was on 3D. I'm so upset that I can't remember this. But it was... Just go watch Complexity Redemption. It is the sickest story ever. You see these guys just completely unbelievable, like topple the kings, right? Then there's also at the same time you had like NIP and SK as like the two rising teams in Europe, like dueling it out. So I mean, then I forget if it was CPL 2007. I forget which CPL, but when they came over and started playing, it was insane. But yeah, then there was, after CPL, there was CGS, which is a negative milestone, or like, what do you call that? Like, that was a disaster, where you essentially had a bunch of like TV execs going, yeah, I know how to do esports, like this is easy, whatever. And they just fucking ruined Counter-Strike. And I thought the game was dead after that. Like, everybody thought the game was dead after that. Then, skipping ahead to CSGO, when the patch came out that actually made the game good, when they added skins and like fixed all the balance and made the game like tight, that was a huge milestone for the game. There was the whole, I mean, obviously NIP's 87-0 run is a giant milestone. Granted, that was at like the very beginning of Go where people still sucked, but it was still like sick to see a team go 87-0. After that, you have the whole, what was it? It was Very Games versus Fnatic. What was that? Was that DreamHack Cluj? I forget which. I should know these fucking tournaments.
You know a lot of different things.
Well, it's like it's.
I am
easy
asking
when
you to recount the history of Counter-Strike for over the last 17 years. 16.
It's easy when you have like when I can pull up like Liquipedia and go, oh, exactly, this is the tournament that I'm thinking of, because it's just a million rounds jumbled together. But yeah, so you have Fnatic's era of dominance, which is like my favorite era in Counter-Strike because it's so dumb. Like you basically had a team that was like they were in the Matrix. Like they could bend the game to their will. Like you have JW just like bunny hopping out connector and just no scoping kids at top mid. You have like Olafmeister just running one tapping dudes with the Tech 9. Like it was the most insane. Like what comparing that to the current Astralis era that we're in now, right? They play tight tactics. Like it's a much cleaner, much better. Every level of it is better than the Fnatic era, I'd say. But it didn't have that loose, just like, fuck it, we're running in here, and just sheer dominance. Like, it was just pure confidence that nobody could touch, and it was just so crazy to see that, right? So after the Fnatic era, you have, I'd say the big milestone was MLG Columbus. That was the first major on American soil, and it was in Columbus, a town I lived in, which was awesome. I wasn't there at the time, but I lived in Columbus for like 10 years. Yeah, Columbus was sick. That's where you had the rise of SK. That's where you had Coldzera doing the sick everybody's seen that, like in Mirage apartments jumping no scoping kids. That's where you had Liquid make it to, I forget if it was, I think they made it to the semifinals, which was unheard of. American team, I don't think to that point. I'm probably wrong here. Somebody can probably point that out. But like, I think that was the first time an American team within Counter-Strike Go has made it to the playoff bracket of a major. And then, so Columbus was the sickest major. And then I guess the next thing is Cloud9 winning the major in Boston. That was huge. I mean, an American team has never won. And then, now we're in the Astralis era where the game is just so high level. Like, the way I like to think about it is if you watch, like, if you compare Counter-Strike to, like, the UFC, right? Like, UFC 1 is a joke. It's like dudes wearing shoes. Like, this guy's a ninja and he's fighting like a wrestler. Like, it's dumb shit. Whereas now it's like, oh, these guys have like everything not like locked down and they're just brutal machines and can just like crush anyone. That's current Counter-Strike. It's just like the game has been figured out. Everybody has refined everything. Like, there's new tactics, new strategies, new like stuff. But like for the most part, everybody can hit insane shots. Everybody like is good. Where it starts to fall apart is like team dynamics and chemistry, which is like where it always falls apart, right? Like, just from my own experience, whenever I played at my best, it was because I was having fun with my friends. The moment somebody starts getting pissy, it like everybody's skill level goes down because you just have some kid like nagging in your ear the whole time. Sorry, I just got reminded of all the people I hated on like all the teams that tore them apart. So I think those were the milestones for Counter-Strike.
So right now is the time of Astralis, and you were saying, not Astralis, but Astralis. Compared to other esports, I would say that it actually has the oldest players.
Yes.
People who have been there longest.
Maybe fighting games might be older.
Yeah.
But if we're talking top tier competition. Counter-Strike has the
So
oldest,
what
I think.
aspects of that are pros and cons with the current, not meta, but yeah, the way in which the game is played? Because you talked about like they are fighting machines like UFC, like updated. What do you think the next evolution will be? Because right now we're in the era of Astralis, but you're saying still like people, it's very much how the relationship between the players.
Yes.
So do you think that the next evolution will be the team that really figures out that relationship dynamic and how to really have...
I mean, if you look at it now, like there are very few teams that are all young kids, right? There's always a veteran amongst them, and we're at a passing or a changing of the guard or a passing of the torch, whatever metaphor works. Because like you have people like, I mean, VP just cut their roster, so like Neo, the oldest guy in the game, is out. Like I'm trying to think who the next oldest player is. Maybe Markelov. I'd have to look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head. But like basically every team, you see all this new blood coming in, but they always hang on to a veteran. Like with like Team Liquid, you bring in Twist. You have well, I mean, Liquid's a bad example now because who knows what's going on with that team because Taco's gone now. Apparently, these are all rumors right now, so who knows what's going on. So let's look at NIP. You look at NIP, you have Exist, who was Fnatic's in-game leader during like the peak Fnatic years. No, I'm sorry. That was Pronax. I don't know why. I'm mixing up like Swedish teams. You have Exist, who is traditionally always oh my god. I'm like so twisted in my head because of the shuffle. So Exist is now on Fnatic. But let's keep it with NIP. You have Dennis, who is old. You have Get Right, who's old. You have Forrest, who is old. Get Right and Forrest being like the oldest two. Like they were 1.6 legends, and now they're still like playing, CS:GO. Then they have Rez and Lekro, I think. I'm gonna be so mad if I'm wrong here. If I like pull up Liquipedia and have it wrong. But like they basically brought in two young guys. You bring in two young guys, they get used to the environment, and then by the time that they're ready to take over the mantle, the old guys will be out of the scene, and then they bring in two, more young guys, and then you work through that dynamic. So yeah, like where we are right now in CS is we're in the changing period where you're starting to see old guys retire. Like today, Zeus, the in-game leader of Navi, is saying 2019 is probably gonna be my last year, right? He's been playing forever, and it's just like you get to a point where you can't just keep grinding games. Like there's other stuff in life that you need to get done. Like so it's like we're getting to the point where a lot of people are hitting that level and they just are getting out, and you're seeing the phasing in of new talent.
What team is doing the best job of developing new fresh talent?
I mean, that's hard to say because I don't know how much of it is. I mean, you can look at teams like it's hard to say because it's like not every team is like a bunch of young guys, right? Every team's they hit weird hot streaks, weird peaks. Like the big thing right now is this guy Zaiwu. He's like this French guy who's like dominating every game. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long that lasts, right? Like, I mean, you can just look at somebody like Simple, right? He screwed around with like Flipside, Hellraisers, like all these kind of garbage. I mean, I like Hellraisers and Flipside as teams, and I like always rooted for them, but they never accomplished anything, right? Besides like consistently making like group stage at the major, right? But other than that, they didn't really do anything. But like throughout that time, he was this like kid that was extremely talented, but like was known for having an attitude and like was really emotional. To now, when you see him on Navi, every interview he's like, "Yo, I need to be doing stuff. Our team needs to be doing stuff. We're trying to figure it out." Like he's a much more mature like player. And I think that just comes with time. It comes with like playing and like the experience of playing. It comes from playing in a team environment. I'm sorry, that was a rambling answer for me to say like energy. I don't know, like just an American team that's doing good energy. yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
What milestones are you hoping to see next?
I mean, hoping to see next. I completely forgot when talking about it. E-League. E-League taking Counter-Strike, taking like the ghosts of CGS and then making it good and like actually doing a great broadcast with a great team. They don't mess with the game at all. So yeah, no, throw that in the last one. E-League was the shit. Is the shit. They're still doing CS, so I love them. So future milestones, it's gonna be just getting the game bigger, like breaking, breaking like capacity at like arenas, doing ideally I would like to see, forsaken jokes aside, like the CS scene grow in India. I know that that's a thing. There's a CS scene in South Africa. It's getting the game more like it's like proliferating the game throughout the world. It would be great to see. It would be cool to see a major in China, just because it's so big, and traditionally China has never really been great at Counter-Strike. But it would be cool to see the game grow in because it's always been like king in like Europe, like Nordic Europe or France. England for a period of time had decent teams with like 4 kings. It's always been big in America, specifically the West Coast. I'm so mad I wasn't out here when I was a kid because of all the opportunities to actually like play decent lands and have good competition. But like being stuck in Ohio sucked. So yeah, it's just gonna be like, hopefully you start seeing like high school leagues, start seeing like a good college league. I'm hesitant to say I don't want like the League of Legends franchising, like Overwatch League kind of setup. I think that's garbage. I think that really ruins a lot of what esports is, where it takes out the opportunities for people to build a team, get like me and my 4 friends, we're going to play, we're going to grind, we're going to get good, and then eventually making it to an event like that. With a thing like Overwatch League, it's not gonna be me and like 5 of my buddies who grind out to be on the Philly Fusion. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna draft people. It's like business people are making decisions. It's not like a group of friends playing, right? So like I don't want that for like big like the majors or like the big tournament scene for Counter-Strike. But I think for like high school leagues are good, for colleges leagues are good because you have an affiliation to like the university or the school, right? So yeah, I think that would be huge if that became like a nationwide thing. I know that there are some schools that do it, although it's going to be hard considering it's terrorists, guns, and planting bombs and shooting people. But that's that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, what else would be big for Counter-Strike? I mean, just as a player, the things that would be big would be like if they updated the game and made it so servers were 128 tick instead of 64. Make regions a little bit more access to servers in specific regions a little bit better. Because I know like I'll be playing and then I'll get guys from South America just playing. And it's like more power to you, dude, but like I can't understand your call outs, you can't understand mine, and you're playing with 200 ping. Like, what's going on here? But yeah, no, I think going forward for Counter-Strike, getting it on non-cable television would be big. I mean, I think television's dying, but that's because I'm 31 and don't pay for cable. But like, yeah, no, like national TV would be big, or just getting common acceptance. Like, I think that's the next big hurdle, is getting so that middle America can get over terrorists versus counter-terrorists, guns, bombs, all that kind of stuff.
So Valve has not created a central league, but instead it's allowed third-party tournament organizers to go do their thing. Mm-hmm. Right now you have E-League refreshes Blast, which is pretty new to the scene, ESL, and Faceit. How are they all working, and what do you see? How do you see them playing out over the next couple of years?
I mean, that's hard to say. I think online leagues are going to go. I think the players hate them. The viewership's bad on all of them. Unless you start offering something good, like the prize money, or like you give up too much information if you play in an online league. right? Because if you actually try and play hard and use your strats and stuff like that, you're basically giving them like a third of a year of your plays on every map and like how you like to play things, and people can just download the demos and learn that shit. So like nobody takes them seriously. So I think online leagues are on the way out, which is kind of a bummer, because I think there's a lot of opportunities you can do with an online league in terms of content, in terms of like actually producing like a good show that people would want to watch. Like for me, the greatest esports viewing experience ever is watching the GSL, the StarCraft tournament in Korea. It is the most fun. It has the best commentators. It's not an online league, right? They have the benefit of being able to do this because it's in Seoul, right? And everybody who's good in StarCraft, like you can take a train and get to Seoul and go play at the studio. But it's like, you get to see the players, the emotions are there. It's the commentators are the greatest in the world. Like Tasteless and Artos is by far the best commentators in the world. So it's like, tuning into the GSL was like, all right, I'm gonna watch StarCraft with my friends, right? Like Tasteless and Artosis are making jokes. It's all inside jokes that you get from watching it. You get to see the players there. There's the emotion. They interview. You get to see the interactions, and there's like a personality to it. Right now, if you watch like an ESL Pro League, it's like two dudes in front of a green screen sitting there, and they're casting off demos. It's not even like live games. Like it's just not good. Nobody likes it. I think those are a way that they're going away. I think that in terms of tournaments, ESL is always going to be like near the top, if not on top. Same with Face It. Face It's killing it. Both of them, their businesses rely on their big tournaments being like the shit, because ESL owns ESEA, and then Face It is Face It. So they're both online leagues that are like acting as, hey, these are ways to get to this level. Like this is the advertisement to come use our services, right? So those guys, they can't produce a worse quality broadcast or a worse quality tournament, because if so, like somebody else will come in and, eat their lunch. Blast is doing a great job. I was just watching Pro Series this last weekend. Their formats are weird in that it was like,
I actually liked their 1v1 kind of 20,000.
Yeah,
it was fun.
No, that was fun, but like the actual tournament format, it wasn't like
all three play at the same time.
Yeah, all three play at the same time, and then based on like round differentials, you move in different places. Like, just invite 8 teams and like either do GSL groups or do like Swiss system or something. Personally, I love GSL groups because there's drama. Like the actual drama of the group stage is so much more interesting than round robin stuff, because it's like you play a best of 3. There's the map drafting issue of that, where if you get screwed on your draft, you still have 2 other maps to play on. Whereas in like the Swiss system, it's like, all right, well, we got to do it on this or we're done, right? Like there's no rallying, there's no like the best stories are like so like let's look at Blast, right? The finals of Blast is a best of 3. It's Astralis versus Navi. Astralis always beats Navi, like always. First map, Navi beats Astralis. Everybody's hype as shit. Like, oh my god, is this the time? Astralis era's over. Like, fuck these guys, let's go Navi. And then Astralis just crushes them the next 2 maps. But there's that hype there, right? Like, you get that drama. Like, Twitch chat is blowing up. Everybody's like, this is it. Let's believe. And then it just fucking gets pulled out from underneath you. And it sucks, but it's also awesome. Like, the fact that you get that invested in it. Whereas in, like, at least to me, like, Swiss system, it's just like, all right, like, cool. If we strategically lose to this team, we get to play a worse team. Like, it's just not the same drama that you get from like a GSL group, but that's just my weird rant on that. But yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of opportunities, not at the highest level, but like mid-tier tournaments. Like, so your DreamHacks, your what is it, like Star Ladders, like those kind of mid-tier tournaments where you're going to start seeing like talent develop. Those are going to be like the big, like there'll be the rise in quality of those will go up. At least that's what I think, right? Because you have like, if the big guys are playing, like nobody's ever going to top like an ESL One Cologne, or nobody's going to top like an E-League major or something like that. But like, you know, you have DreamHack. Like the DreamHack system has expanded over the last couple of years, right? Like it was always traditionally like a European thing. Now all of a sudden they're doing it in Atlanta, they're doing it in Dallas, they're doing it in Montreal. Like every year they're announcing new cities. So hopefully that system keeps growing, starts building out a more fleshed out mid-tier system. And then you start seeing more talent develop, and that gives more of the big teams to pick people up, and then they play in the highest level. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
So speaking of Valve's relationship with Counter-Strike, that for tournaments, but then also just in general, what do you think that Valve has done well, and what has Valve not done well when it comes to the world of Counter-Strike?
Valve is great. I don't want to disparage anything Valve does. I think,
and actually, hold on, let me amend that. Not any long history, just more immediate history, because I know that there's a lot of
the whole R8 revolver, all that bullshit, riot shields. Yeah, no. So, I mean, Valve just released Danger Zone, the battle royale, which is great, tons of fun. They made the game free to play, which a lot of people are saying is the end of the world, but I think it's fine. Sure, there'll be more cheaters, but if you actually listen to the game developer conference that the guy who does Valve Anti-Cheat gave, the way trust factor works is you'll never play those people if you're not a piece of shit. And if you're a piece of shit, you should be playing those people, because fuck you. Like, I'm sick of playing with those people. But yeah, so like, I don't think cheating is going to be a big issue. I think what Valve should be doing is focusing on more of the like the way the average person plays Counter-Strike. It's okay. It could be a lot better. They could rework the way the rank system works. That makes it a little bit less like right now it's like you're throwing bones and trying to read what your rank will be at the end of a game. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, the other day I was playing with my buddy Tyler, and he drops 30 frags. We go into this, we're both ranked Legendary Eagle, right? Which is like top 3-4% of people who play the game, something like that, right? We're both LE. He has a great game. I have an absolute trash game. Like, I'm stuck on site playing with some moron who doesn't talk, keeps flashing me, like, just like borderline throwing the game for me, right? So I have a garbage game. We ended up losing 16-14, right? He gets D-ranked down, but I'm fine with like my 10 and like 25 score. He's like 30 and like 16. I'm like 10 and 25, but I'm still doing all right, boys. Like, so like if you had like a visible ELO and saw the way, like the actual progress and could chart it, I think that'd be a much more satisfying experience for the average player. Big thing is 128 tick servers. So that means basically they're on 64 tick servers. I think Call of Duty plays on like 20, which is like garbage. But the reason you pay to play on ESEA or Face It is they use 128 tick servers, which are much more responsive. They feel good. Like, it's hard to describe, but it feels good. Like, if I'm playing matchmaking now and I shoot at somebody and I miss, there's like a twinge of doubt in my mind, because like on LAN that would have hit, right? If I play on ESEA, that would have hit because the server would have updated fast enough to actually catch that, or I would have seen him, like he would have been around the corner and that shot wouldn't have gone off, right? Like, so I think 128 tick servers, updating the way the matchmaking system works. Other than that, maybe adding, this is like all Reddit complaints, an unranked matchmaking mode. But I mean, that's what people are saying online. I think it could be interesting, but the way that you should be, at least in my mind, because I'm old and I don't want to change my ways, the way you should be playing is matchmaking is your unranked matchmaking game, and then ESEA or Face It are the real games that you should actually care about, because that's like a much more Like again, 128-bit tick servers, higher competition, better analytics of seeing how you're doing. So those should be the ones that are really you care about. Whereas matchmaking should just be whatever. Other than that, new maps. I mean, they have a bunch in there. I'm not gonna play them because I'm old and I play the maps that I play. But like, new maps could be cool. But really, Valve has been killing it. Like, people love to talk shit about Valve, like how they don't care about Counter-Strike, which is to a certain degree true. If you look at how the attention they give to Dota versus they give to Counter-Strike. But I mean, I can't. It's the best game. Like, Counter-Strike is the best shooter. Like, nobody can deny that. Like, unless you're some Overwatch nerd, but you're wrong. Yeah, Counter-Strike's the best shooter. Valve made it, and they're maintaining it. And to give you an idea of like how I like what Valve is doing, everybody complains about cheating, right? Everybody's like, oh, there's so many cheaters, whatever. I use this website, csgostats.gg. I think it's CSGO-stats because the other one's like some scam. So make sure you get to the right one. But after a game, you can upload, like, you get a share link of like your demo after every matchmaking game. So you can go in there, throw it in there, and it'll parse out all this analytics, and it'll like keep track of who you play the most with. Like, oh, you took 10 fights against this guy and you lost like 6 of them. What are you doing, right? But it also keeps track of games that somebody in them eventually gets VAC banned. Like, they eventually get caught cheating, right? I've been putting, for like 2 years, I've been putting games in there. There's been 44 games where somebody's been caught cheating. Of those 44, I think maybe 10 were in the last year, right? Like 3 from the last month, but I think that might have just been like a fluke, right? So it's like, Valve has been killing it. Like, it's just not as publicized as it should be, I guess. I don't know, but I love Valve. I think they're great.
Paid for by Valve.
Yeah, no, please, Valve, pay me. I'll work on Counter-Strike stuff.
You talked about Danger Zone. That is the next iteration. Is that the next kind of development from Source to Global Offensive? Is it more just kind of...
it's just a side fun game. So, like, if you go into Counter-Strike, they've already had... there's, like, Arms Race, which is, if you play Call of Duty, it's a gun game where you start with one gun, you get a kill, you get a next one, and then you just keep going until you get all the way to your knife. And if you get a knife kill, you win the game. They have Demolition, which is basically, like, beginner's Counter-Strike. It's a mix of gun game and just classic Counter-Strike where it's 5v5, but there's only one bomb site. Maps are super small. You get a kill that round. You start the next round with a different gun. And then there's also Flying Scoutsman, which is a awesome game mode. It's a throwback back in old Counter-Strike when I used to play, and there was actual servers and like a community. There was a bunch of server mods, and one of the more popular ones was Scout's Knives, where basically everybody had the shitty sniper, the scout, and a knife, and it was low gravity, and you just go flying around and just trying to like shoot dudes, and it was awesome. So within the last year or two, Valve reintroduced it as Flying Scoutsman, and that was like a lot of fun. And I just see Danger Zone as being the next one of those kind of game modes.
So I think the question I really want to ask is there going to be another big kind of update like from Source to Global Offensive?
There has to be.
Is it coming up soon? Is it, or...
That's hard to say. Okay. It's impossible to say. That's Valve time, and that's reading tea leaves. Like, nobody knows what's going on with that.
So Jason Lake has come up a good amount of times in just our conversation, and he's kind of, I think in esports a lot of people know who he is, but I think outside he's not as well known. What kind of role has he played in the world of Counter-Strike specifically?
Jason Lake is like one of the founding fathers of American esports in terms of like Counter-Strike. I mean, there was other teams beforehand, but he was the first guy to really give players contracts, really take care of them. I mean, if you go watch that Complexity Redemption video, you will see him. They're like, the guys are all sitting, they're playing, and then you just see him with his red power tie pacing behind him, like kicking over chairs, smoking cigarettes. I'm like, that is what esports should be, right? Like, it's just, oh man. Jason Lake has been just incredible in the foundations of Counter-Strike and just esports in general, like with what Complexity did. Like, there was a period in time where Complexity wasn't fielding a North American team, but they had a team in Brazil, and that team in Brazil goes to be, Luminosity, goes to be SK and now MIBR, right? Like, it was Fallen, it was FNX, like, it was all these, like, sick players. And he had the foresight, and he had, like, I guess the foresight and the resources to just be like, all right, well, in America, Counter-Strike isn't doing so well right now. But, this is like 2010, 2011 when I was like writing StarCraft stuff for him, right? Like, Counter-Strike was like not doing shit in America. But he had the foresight to go, oh, there's these killer dudes in Brazil. I'm going to give them an opportunity to do this, right? Like, he paid them so that they could play and become the players they are now. Like, so they didn't have to work and stuff. He's like, yeah, man, he's the shit. Like, I love that guy. It was, and the thing is like, I'm bummed out because I never got to go to these because they were all, like, the Complexity crew is all Texas people. Like, they're all Texas guys. So like, I never got to go to it when I was playing for them because I was in fucking Ohio. But you'd hear like, oh, hey, he's having a barbecue. All the guys are coming over, right? Even to this day, they're like my old teammate, Will from Houston, who I used to play with a lot, but then the flood ruined his internet, and then he said he got his shit together, but I still haven't seen him online. So Will, where are you? But like, Will still go and like go to those barbecues and hang out with the team. Like, it's a family. Like, he is still part of that crew, even though he hasn't played like on a Complexity related team for like 10 years more than, right? But yeah, no, Jason Lake is what every esports owner should be, like, player focused. Just, yeah, man. I don't know how else to gush about this guy. He's the best.
Are there any other people in esports who, not necessarily exactly like Jason Lake, but who in Counter-Strike right now are really helping forge what the future of CS is going to be?
That's hard to say because I don't have access to like the conversations that these guys are having, right? Like, the only reason I know about Lake is because of my time with Complexity and stuff like that. And I guess like, it's weird. I want to say a team like FaZe, but like, I don't know who's in charge of that. Like, I guess Robin, whoever their coach or manager is. But just like, the fact that there's a team that's like, yo, money's not an option. Like, let's just build a fucking super team. Like, let's get like the dream team together. I mean, it didn't do anything. Like, unfortunately, like, this past year was pretty bad for FaZe. But I like that you can have those storylines, right? Because on one hand, I am all for a group of friends playing together, right? But then on the other hand, I do appreciate a FaZe coming in and saying, all right, we're buying up the best players, let's do this shit, right? And then, because it creates that drama, right? Where it's like, you've got the 5 friends and they're going up against, it's like the Mighty Ducks, man. You got like the Mighty Ducks going up against like the Icelandic dudes. Like, they're like monsters that are gonna crush them all, but like, their friendship and like goofiness is what pushes them over the top. Like, that's why it bummed me out when Cloud9, like, when Nothing left, when Shroud was gone, like, when the original team, Sean Gares, Freak, all those guys, when they all split up, like, that really bummed me out, because that was like the last semblance of like, here's a team of friends, let's go, you know what I mean? But now you get that with like Astralis. I'd say like the Astralis guys all seem to be friends. I don't really know. I've talked to Dupree a couple times, like doing interviews, but I don't know like if they're like hanging out and like high-fiving and like, you know, going out drinking and stuff. Like, actually a great example of this is, I think it was DreamHack Winter 2013. One of them was a minor, and they did a documentary about it, and it is awesome because it's like it's all these older players that aren't really around. Like, it's like Hiko, Nitro, like dudes that are still names. I mean, Nitro's fucking awesome, so never mind there. But like, Hiko's not really the name he was. Semphis, who is now might be considered a coach for, I forget what team they were talking about. Maybe Liquid, they were saying. But it's all these guys, and you see them hanging out beforehand with like a notebook at a bar like the night before. They're having a drink, they're going over strats and stuff. I'm like, this is what Counter-Strike should be, right? Like, it's I don't know, man. You're hanging out with your friends and you're like coming up with stuff and like putting it into action. But yeah, sorry, that was a weird tangent. I'm trying to think who will be the next big guys in the space making waves. Cloud9's doing a good job, I think. Liquid, of course, but these are like, that's like saying, you know, they're like GM or maybe not GM, GE. I'm trying to think of what is the big companies in America that are never gonna like collapse. I mean, GM collapsed, so that's a bad example. But you know, like Ford, I guess. But I think those are like the big names are like the big pillars that won't ever fall. Like Cloud9, Team Liquid. What other, like you have like Ghost is interesting because you have, actually yeah, that's what I'll say Ghost, because they're taking a risk by fielding a team with Steel on it, right? And he can't play in majors, he's been banned for life, but like they still are giving this guy the opportunity. They recognize the value he has. They bring up younger players around him. He kind of guides them into being a more professional player, and Ghost is kicking ass now. Like, they're not gonna beat Astralis, but like they're doing good enough where they can live off their winnings, right? Like, I think Ghost is smart for taking a risk on somebody like Steel and giving them the opportunity that Valve has taken away from them, which is I should have said something about that in the Valve part. Free Brax, free Steel. But yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know, man. I can't keep it straight. Like, it's just words are coming out of me.
Yeah. Well, in that case, Alex, thank you for making the time.
Thanks, man.